Thank you for joining us today on the N2 Continuum broadcast. We're joined by Don
Baumann
Baumann
Brunke.
Brunke. There we go. Don Baumann Brunke, an
Right.
author, animal creator, tarot creator, and lifelong explorer of the connection between animals, dreams, spirit, and human consciousness. Don has written numerous books, including Animal Voices, The Key to Spirit Animals, Shape-Shifting with Our Animal Companions, and Dreaming with Polar Bears, helping people deepen their understanding of the wisdom and guidance animals bring into our lives. She's also the creator of the Spirit Animal Tarot and has spent decades exploring symbolism, spirituality, healing, and the unseen bonds between humans and the natural world. Dawn, welcome to the
Okay.
show.
Okay,
So
thank you. You
glad to
make me
have
sound like
you.
totally impressive, but we'll see.
You are impressive.
Oh, we'll see.
I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, like, I have like family and stuff that are like it's like anybody else, right? You have family and friends that are deeply connected with their pets. I don't even want to call them pets around you because I
Yeah.
see them as like they say people call them family. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they can be.
And
Yeah, for sure.
and and that's what you're doing is very much the world I keep hearing that we're moving into.
Mm.
This whole new type of consciousness and
Mhm.
awareness.
Mhm.
And so a whole new dialogue and communicate and I don't know, communion
Yeah.
with all animals is
Well,
about to change,
I think
right?
so. I think with all animals, with nature, I think we're letting go of the boxes. Let's say this is a dog, this is a this, and we're kind of opening up to a deeper level of spirit connection, if you will. And
Hmm.
so, and connecting in that way. Yeah. Yeah. So it's
So
freeing, right? It's freeing.
it's what?
Freeing. It
Oh yeah, it's
frees
free.
us from our boxes, from our paradigms, from our, tightly little held beliefs. And that's
Yeah.
why, we're having a lot of turbulence in the world because not everybody's ready to give up those little boxes.
Well, we are. I
A
am.
lot of people are. A lot of people are. We're the ones who are going to have the fun ride.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's happening right now. It's happening right
Yeah.
now.
It is.
So maybe you can give a background like on where you started
Mhm.
leading up to what we're going into with this
Okay.
topic.
Well,
Yeah.
with like animal communication or in general, or what do you want?
Yeah, so yeah, let's
What
stick to
story
the
do you want?
animal. Yeah, because I like
Yeah.
I don't want to veer off into the all the to craziness, but I want to I'm
Uh-oh.
really yeah. I
Tony,
want
too late. Too late for you.
it, it is. It's totally too late. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's dial it not back a notch. Okay, so I moved to Alaska in 1996 and I got a job as the editor of a health and wellness magazine. So I was going to be dealing with a lot of doctors, chiropractors, professionals who were pushing the edge a little bit because that was what, 25, 30 years ago. So even chiropractic back then was a little bit different. Anyway, I one of the articles that I edited was written by a woman in Anchorage who talked to animals. And I thought, wow, the article was very well written. I believed it. It felt real to me. And I really wanted to publish it. And the publisher is like, no, 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 no. We can't, people don't even believe in acupuncture. We can't do this yet. We're in the West, right? So, long story short, I ended up interviewing this woman who talked with animals, and she turned me on to a writer from the 1940s and 50s. He had passed on by this time, J. Allen Boone, who wrote a beautiful little book called Kinship with All Life. And he was kind of a mentor, if you will, almost a spirit mentor, of somebody who got me to open up my box or my paradigm, my way of seeing the world, seeing animals. And I eventually interviewed a number of different animal communicators and did some articles and stuff. And I realized I was so fascinated by it that I realized I'm writing a book here. I'm really writing a book. And I bet you other people would be interested in this, right? So that
Yeah.
did become my first book, Animal Voices, which I think was published 2001, maybe. So it was a long time ago, and that whole field has really opened up, since then. It's still a little woo, probably for some people, but once you open to that and you tune into that channel we really are speaking to other spirit beings. They might be wearing a cute little furry outfit with ears and a tail, right? But you're talking on a spirit level, on a heart to heart, soul to soul level with animals. And
Yeah,
with nature. I mean, we can do it with other things too, right? So we're expanding our paradigms, we're opening up, and we're connecting in a new way. I think we're just dialing up the frequency of who we are, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating when I meet somebody who's really has a deep connection with like their pet in a way. Like I'll be honest, like I love when a dog comes up to me and
Hmm.
smells me and all this stuff, but I have like also kind of a thing like this, like like I don't have a pet and I'm trying to keep my wife from not wanting to have a pet. But it's just but I do like have like when I go visit my family and stuff like that. I want to say I want to give a name, but I was just thinking of her, my last, I was gonna say my mom. She's a
Uh-huh.
total dog lover,
Uh-huh.
and she's like, I picture her in dog heaven.
Uh-huh.
Her dog's being next to her. I mean, is do you is that like a real thing? Like where dogs are always in your energetic field, even when they move on, they're still
Okay.
with you.
So you're asking kind of a lot of questions here, and
Yeah,
let's just bring it practical first, which
sure.
is that well, the short answer is yes. Yes,
Yeah,
I think we are relating to other beings, and that is kind of an abstract way of saying it. But definitely, I think animals come into our lives just like the human animals come into our lives to help us in certain ways. So when I do animal talks with individuals, it's such a wide range. Sometimes an animal is sick, and I'm kind of translating how it's feeling to its person. Sometimes the person just wants to understand it a little better. So I'm kind of, sometimes it's behavioral issues. Sometimes
mhm,
an animal's dying. Should I help it? Should I not? What's going on? So a lot of the work that I'm doing is translation work, really. I'm tuning into that animal's feelings, kinesthetic feelings, emotional feelings, the way they see the world. So kind of, the human translation would be thoughts
yeah,
and perceptions. And I'm giving that to the human. And hopefully, what I'm also doing through my energy is helping that human to kind of open up to that channel, that way of thinking, because it's not really that hard. It's just a
yeah,
slight little turn of the radio dial, to use an old school image. Um, okay, so that's one level, right? And then
yeah,
to answer your question more specifically, I think at a spiritual level, we relate to beings. We relate to energies. We relate to love. So it's the vibration of love. How does that manifest in this physical world? Maybe
yeah,
as a dog, maybe as a cat, maybe as a human. We don't know, right? So I think, and just to bring this back to your original kind of question, is that's what's awakening right now. That's what's waking up right now
yeah.
is this deeper experience of an energy that we might call love, not romantic love. It's a deeper type of love of life, love of self and others, and it's just a
Hmm.
vibration that's very welcoming, very unconditional. And so we don't have to have those separations of dog, cat, horse, human, it's just more open. And yet at the same time, when we live in this world, this 3D world, we can enjoy those different variations, right? This is the
Yeah,
planet of diversity, right? So we have so many different species, so many different, ways of being, and so many different ways of experiencing what life can be and what life is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've always like humans have always had like a companionship with like their like their horse,
Hmm. Hmm.
even like the cow in some of these cultures is almost like is like a figure that they kind of like I want to say like pray to or they idolize, but it has a certain imagery that's part of their
Yeah.
culture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, and that's an imagery that we humans put onto it, right?
Yeah.
But I wrote a book called Shadow Animals. Um, and it's how it's specifically about the animals we fear and how those animals show us something about ourselves. Why do we have a problem with snakes? or with rats or with
Yeah.
rabbits or with whatever it is. Dogs. Some people are afraid of dogs. So for them, that's the shadow animal, right? So the whole exploration of this book was looking at how we project onto animals certain ideas and
Uh-huh.
how that shows us something about who we really are inside and how we can use those projections to really what it is it's seeing your beliefs. It's seeing how you believe things and project them onto other things, people, animals, you know, situations, the government. That's a good one to project on, right? Politicians, lawyers, however you want. Project it out there. Why do we project it? So we don't have to see it inside, right? So
Yeah.
that's what the book is about. The book is about, I did animals because animals are a gentle way of helping us see that, those things that we disassociate from and put out there. And by reclaiming that, we really reclaim our own energy. You know,
Uh-huh.
we reclaim something about ourselves and we move closer to that unconditional love, you know?
Yeah.
Unconditional is key, right? There's no conditions. There's no the rat is better than the rabbit. You know, it's an openness. It's a frequency that's very needed maybe in the world right now.
Yeah, and like I said, like I get this thing with like dogs, especially cats. Like I don't like say a cat comes up to me, I start to do this a lot. But
Hmm.
it's not that I don't like the cat or I don't like the animal. It's that it's something else, but still on a deeper level, I feel like these animals they're just like us,
Hmm.
and when they're in your home, they're not just like a pet. Sometimes I have a hard time calling it a pet because it's a family,
Hmm.
and it's but it's also like I also heard something like cats are kind of like they come to you. You don't bring a cat into your life. A cat will come, it actually comes into your life. It's like some kind of frequency, and
Hmm.
it's coming into your life maybe for a long time or for a short time. Are like animals also on another level? Are they also like kind of like messengers or,
Well,
guides?
yeah, I think we could tap into that, into different ways of seeing animals. And some animals, there's a rich history, in legend and folklore and in medicine, more traditional native type medicine, or in the shamanic tradition of animals being messengers and animals bringing us certain, my dog's groaning here, bringing us wisdom, or certain teachings or knowledge. So yeah, we could tap into that and see how the cat, for example, is a guide of secrets sometimes of
Uh-huh.
very subtle distinctions. I mean, cat energy is very different than dog energy, which is different than horse energy. So obviously all of these animal species bring a teaching to the planet. It's a
Mhm.
gift, let's call it, right? A gift. And it's up to us whether we choose to see that or not.
Yeah.
Mm.
And when you're creating this, I don't know, like this kind of communication with the
Hmm.
animal,
Hmm.
what's the process? Like, is it like,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really creating. I'm just tuning in. I'm just listening. That's really what I'm doing. I'm just listening.
Hmm.
I am getting, so, when I teach classes in animal communication, the first full day is basically learning how to be quiet inside because we are creatures of chat, 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 a lot of
Yeah.
thoughts, a lot of thinking, a lot of projections inside. So it takes a certain stillness, I think, to tune in and to let go of our ideas and our perceptions and our thoughts and really get to that still silent space inside that can hear. And then that's what we're doing. We're opening our minds, we're opening our hearts, and we're perceiving on a different level. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're engaging conversation, a flow, a flow of energies back and forth. And we're just being very curious and open and not putting restrictions on what we may or may not get. So it's really about opening. Yeah.
And when an animal has like trauma, like how do
Mhm.
you work with an animal that has like trauma?
Well, like physical trauma, you're saying, or emotional trauma.
We had
You
a
know,
dog.
Well, it really okay, it's case specific. It really depends on the situation.
Yeah.
So I'm a person who, I don't have a set protocol of what I'm going to be doing. I go into the energy of it, of the situation. I'm feeling the animal, I'm feeling the person. I'm really the third person. We're making a triangle. It's the animal, the person, me, and we're kind of
Hmm.
linking up in a way that communication can be facilitated and that we can understand what's going on. Some animals who have trauma, it's a lot of animals are kind of aware of the core of that trauma, unlike humans. Some humans do too, know too, right? But sometimes they're just sometimes we're as humans we're very focused on the symptoms rather than the cause, right? So with animals, I tend to get more of the depth of it, kind of the emotional depth of it. And then working from there is a little easier than just treating the symptoms. I'm not a vet, so I'm not going to be
Yeah.
prescribing anything. I'm just working to facilitate communication. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one dog that was kind of skittish, and we thought it was because the way she was like released was kind of like thrown out there.
Hmm.
And when she was picked up by my brother when she was just a little puppy, but she was adventurous, but that she was still a little skittish.
Hmm.
And we kept thinking it was because of the way she was just kind of like thrown out there. And maybe
Hmm.
that stuck with her, you
Yeah, it
know.
can be. It can be. It really, do you see my dog? She's just like,
Yeah. Oh, she
she
wants to be
wants
on
to
the
go
show,
out and
man.
she's like, come
Yeah.
on, let me out.
She's like, the show's all about me.
Yeah. Yeah. So my answer is it just really depends on the situation. You're just like with humans,
Yeah.
we all have our different stuff that we're going through. And moving through that depends on where we are emotionally and mentally and spiritually, so
Yeah.
we're just going to have to tune in there. There's no one answer.
Like
Yeah.
creating that home and that space for for the animal to start to, I guess grow comfortably,
Yeah.
you
Sometimes
know.
that's the answer. Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah. Um, so like how when you said you mentioned like snakes and stuff, like how would like working with like like a snake differ from working with like a dog?
At the basic core level, it's all the same. I'm opening myself heart to heart, mind to mind. It doesn't matter what the form is. It really doesn't. Now, having said that, a snake perceives life very differently than a dog. Snakes are always connected to the earth or a tree, right? So they're very kinesthetically oriented. So a talk with a snake is going to be different than a talk with a dog, just because dogs and cats generally know our routines and they kind of can talk in different ways.
Yeah.
And that would be very different than a talk with a wild animal, with a tiger or orangutan, somebody, a different being who's living in a different environment who doesn't have the same thing. So the translation is going to depend on me and the animal and the situation and how the question is asked.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And and is it the same thing with like even like a fish,
Yeah.
for example?
Yeah.
Um, when you're but is it going to be something probably a little more deeper with like an animal that's more connected on a human level?
I
Is
would
there?
say not necessarily, because I would say, it's the human projection that thinks that, maybe fish are dull or have no inner
I
life,
don't think
right?
fish are dull.
Because we're not used to thinking of it that way. That is our
Yeah.
perception. And fish have a different way of experiencing the world. And it depends what kind of fish it is. Is it a halibut? Is it a goldfish? We don't know, right? Is it a trout? So there's different ways of experiencing the world. This sounds a little crazy if you're not used to the idea that fish might have intelligence or and even that intelligence is such a human word. Fish have a knowing, a different kind of a way of being in the world. So if we're going to
Yeah.
compare intelligent wise, that's just a very human judgmental comparison is all it is. It's a
And
way for
we're
us to feel comfortable.
yeah, and we're really just kind of just at the beginning phase of learning like something like what consciousness is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like when we talk about like the awareness of like a fish versus a dog versus a human, there's sure we could say, yeah, there's definitely a broader view that a human has, and a human has all these other experiences, but they also have these all these really amazing experiences
Yeah.
that also becomes a part of like their makeup, right?
Different talents, different abilities, the way that birds can migrate, the way that sharks can feel electric pulses in the ocean. Yeah, we have all of these different gifts. It's like I said before, we're on that planet of diversity. So to compare it
Mhm.
all within a human judgment is, we're just necessarily limiting ourselves.
Yeah.
So, by opening up to that, and it's not even necessarily by talking, I wrote a book called Shapeshifting with Our Animal Companions, and that's more about sharing the consciousness of different animals and seeing what that's like, and
Hmm.
perceiving from an eagle's eyes, for example, or feeling the world from a snake's belly. How open
Yeah.
is your consciousness? Can you do that? Can you open to that? If so, you open yourself to a larger perception of life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I see like people like my mom, with dogs, and I think she's already there. She's like already
Mhm.
tapped into like this whole underlining kind of like communication that's like on a way deeper level. That's like, I guess somebody like myself who's more kind of keeps a distance. Um, Same thing with my brother. He's really into cats.
Mhm.
And it's like same thing. It's like when I hear his stories with cats, it's like there's humans that are just on a natural level. They're already, you know, and so I think they're leading the way. I'm not leading, you
Well, I
know.
mean, we all have gifts, right? And we only have a certain amount of time here. So where are you going to focus?
Yeah.
And it's for us, it's for each individual to choose how they want to use the time here.
And the animal too only has very limited time
Mhm.
compared to how long we're here. And
Well, some
they
animals have more than us, but yeah, yeah, there's a
yeah,
range, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
Um so when you see like animals in dreams,
Mhm.
how does that sort of like, is that also a companionship? Like,
Well, I think it can be. I think, and for example, I remember when I was doing my first book, I talked to some whale and dolphin people, and most of them said I first got introduced to the dolphins or the energy of the dolphins or their teachings in dreams. So dreams are great because they open us up. We don't have the same rules that we do in waking life. Although some would say dreams are the waking life, and this is the sleeping life. It depends how you see it. But I think dreams with animals, they can teach us a lot of things. Again, it depends on the dream. Some animals come in dreams as those shamanic symbols I was telling you about, as teachers or guides of a certain energy, a certain
yeah,
teaching, a certain knowledge. Again, it just depends on the dream and the dreamer and the animal energy that we're tapping into. That's always there. That's always there. Even when I do animal talks, sometimes I'm talking to an individual animal, a dog, for example, and then something opens up a little bit and we're talking to kind of spirit of dog, a larger sense of the collectiveness of dog energy on the planet. And then it goes back again to the individual. So it just depends. Life is fluid, right? Life is it's a vast spectrum. And so the question, it's not so much about what the animal means, it's where are we on the spectrum, right? Where are we in our consciousness and how we relate to animals? Yeah.
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 And so like in that dream state, are there different, do each animal create different type of messages?
Well, yeah, it
Like,
depends. Like I said, it just depends. If it's a cat, maybe it's interacting with us in a very specific way, or maybe it's
mhm,
bringing a teaching of cat energy. To be silent, to watch, to be wise, to be, the way cats can move, to be agile. There's all kinds of different teachings. It just would depend. Do you have a
yeah,
specific dream? I mean, because then we could do it a little bit more focused. It's like every
yeah,
single animal talk, every single dream, they're different. It just depends on, so you're asking general questions, which is fine, but the answer is always going to be is that it depends on the situation
the
where we
context
find ourselves, the
and
context, as well as the consciousness with which we're present to
mm,
that context. Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it almost sounds like either there's like the consciousness of like an animal. If it came to you like that, it would be coming to you with a specific purpose, or it's being brought to you in a specific because of what's going on, maybe in your life, and
Hmm.
you're needing to
Yeah.
hear the message
Yeah.
in that particular way, using
Exactly.
that particular type of figure.
There you go. You got it now. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
to me,
exactly it.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, so like when I go to like I take my family to SeaWorld a lot, and
Hmm.
like I always tell my kid, I'm like these guys like they have a really shady history, but I think like with the world we're going into, we're going to see how these animals are going to be more, they're going to be more free, into the world. I mean, if we go into a world where it's like a much higher consciousness from what I'm hearing, you know, is it going to be walking in public and seeing an animal is going to be more of like a communion? Is that what you're imagining that that would be happening too, where it's a lot less gated, you
I'm
know?
guessing so. I think the less gates we have of consciousness, the less gates we're going to have in the outer world. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's less of a need to contain or, hold something like in that way. Again, I don't want to get into judging it because there's reasons that we have zoos and and certain animals I've talked to are happy actually to be in zoos because they're representatives of their species. Now, I'm not saying all
Oh,
at all, but I am saying, it's a blanket judgment to say, zoos are bad or this is bad or,
yeah.
so I think again, it depends on the situation, it depends on the animal, it depends on us as individuals, what we're seeing,
Well,
what's
let's
needed in the world. Yeah.
go deeper into that 'cause that's interesting. Because I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said, like we go to SeaWorld all the time,
Hmm.
and it does have like this shady kind of history to it that they took these, which it's kind of messed up that they took these orca whales, the babies, and they created like a zoo
Hmm.
spectacle out of them.
Hmm.
But you're saying you're kind of like when you go to like a zoo and you kind of engage with them on an energetic level like that.
Hmm.
So you're finding that some of these animals actually see themselves as representatives and they're kind of
Some do, some do.
honored.
Well, I don't know if I'd say that, but that's a human
Okay.
thing. But I remember talking to I have goldfish. I love goldfish. And that's a possession, right? They're in a little tank. And I
Yeah.
was feeling guilty when I started opening up to this to animal communication. Oh, I'm holding them in a little way. And I had this great heart-to-heart talk with the goldfish, and the goldfish are like, there's pluses too. We get fed. We don't have to go looking for food. We're safe. No
Yeah.
other fish is going to eat us, right? So there's pluses in my. It just made me like see things in a slightly different way. You know what? I'm sorry. Can I let my dog out because
Go
she
for it.
just
Yeah,
all
go
right.
for it.
You really play.
Put her in front of the camera.
I know, right? Okay. It's funny. We're talking about captivity. My dog was like, "I'm being captive right now." She really
And
wants
I
to
don't
go
know if it was on the
outside.
video, but there was this dog like on the other side of the fence was barking. And I'm trying to hold myself from shut up.
Well, okay, so all of this points to something which is that in our world, there's simultaneously different levels of consciousness. And where are we tuning in?
Yeah.
Are we going to tune in on the poor animals in the zoo, which is a victim type mentality, and it's something that's speaking from us as well. It's very hard for people to see that because they're like, no, I'm the animal's the victim. But in order to see that, we need a victim consciousness within ourselves because this is kind of advanced stuff. But I'm just saying there's always a little bit of shadow material within ourselves when we're projecting out there.
Yeah.
And some animals don't want to be in zoos. Let's be clear. Some don't, right?
Mhm.
So that's a
Yeah.
spiritual lesson for them, right? There's all kinds of
Yeah.
different levels of what's going on. And I think we're very, and again, this is tying back to what you said in the beginning, we're waking up. So we're beginning to open up what's beneath the surface of consciousness,
Yeah.
which is the realization that there are many different aspects that we're not fully aware of. We feel comfortable in our box. This is right, this is wrong, right? When
Right.
that starts to shatter and come apart, and we see, well, in some cases that's right, in some cases that's wrong, and even deeper than that, maybe there is no right and wrong. Maybe there's just life. Maybe there's just love, and it's being manifest in these different ways. Okay, that'll really blow your mind when you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you like just like you said that there that could be like a part of their spiritual growing.
Hmm.
And according to like Dolores Cannon's work, is that a soul is choosing that particular existence in
Hmm.
this incarnation, whether it's a human or it's like in an animal or a
Yeah.
tree or a rock.
Right.
It's choosing to have that experience. And on the human level, where the ego is at, you're right, there's like this victimization thing where
Hmm.
we're like it's like you see like somebody that's like just homeless, for example, and
Hmm.
immediately you fall into putting yourself into this there you're going to put yourselves into their shoes.
Hmm.
Like you know what their shoes is. Like
Right.
but you
Yeah.
really yeah, but you
You
really
don't.
don't.
You don't.
And on
Yeah.
a spiritual level, the to be real is to actually honor their experience, right? Is it?
I think that's a good way to say it. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good way to say it is and to realize sometimes we're called to help. Okay. So I'm not saying we're not. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're not. And generally it's we're not because but we're projecting. We want to feel better. So we want to do something. We want to, you know, and that's about ego. And then other times we're just like, oh, I need to help that person. I need to do that. We feel it, a guidance deep within, and we do
Hmm.
that. And that's an honoring, right? So yeah, I like the way you said that. We all have our own experience, and it's difficult to know when we're coming from an ego base, what's right or wrong for others. It's theirs thing. It's theirs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean like it's I mean when I think of like also like I'm a meat eater, you
Hmm.
know, how does how would like something like this, I guess, concept or idea fit into like being a meat eater? Because even though even though like I have like this certain layer or way of like this certain like I don't know perception that I could be, like I see like animals as man, we're all on the planet together, and
Hmm.
this is all should be an amazing home for all of us. But then at the same time, I've got this contradiction. Like how like would you say to somebody like me that's
Well, I would say there's plenty of animals that eat other animals. So it's a dance, you know?
mm,
I remember in my first book, I wrote a chapter about this, and it was called The Predator Prey Dance. And it is about being eaten and eating and how that works. And I think, the way you're asking the question is there's a little judgment there, about is that right or is that wrong? When we sink down beneath judgment, then we see it is a dance. It is a giving and a taking, and there's a reciprocity there in larger ways. And that's very
mhm.
hard for our minds to understand who want to make,
Yeah.
vegetarians somehow more holy than meat eaters, and that's just that's a judgment.
Yeah. I mean like it's like I think I saw this one conversation with Dolores Cannon. Sorry, I reference her a lot because
Okay.
I but but she was talking about how, there's like seems to be like this kind of like this stigma within this spiritual community where if you want to raise your frequency, you have to go vegan. But
Hmm.
she's like, what would you say to these other cultures where they are like, they're only eating meat?
Hmm.
That are you going to say that they also should not be going through this ascension thing with the rest of us
Right.
because of, and yeah, I mean, that's like, um, and also, I mean, like you don't know how they're also preparing that food, right? There's also
Mhm.
a ritual around it.
Mhm.
And so they're also kind of honoring that animal in a way before they're going to consume it, something like that. So it's yeah, you're right. It's a really complicated like topic because there's all these different like emotions that kind of come with it. But then there's also when you start to like talk about like the reality of it, that's what we're just now starting to understand is that there's a whole soul thing going on and
Yeah.
a soul journey going on. And there's consciousness and everything around us. So it's almost like we're all, yeah,
Well, and that's right. And that again, it goes back to what level of frequency are you tuning in? You know, at some levels, if there is a lot of judgment, it is a lot of complicated things. What about this? What about this? What about this? But when we sink down into a deeper level of being where we do see that we're all connected and we're all one, it's not complicated anymore. It's very simple.
Mhm.
And we don't have questions like that because we're just taking in and letting go and sharing. And it's not like that, you know? Now, the
Yeah,
problem comes because planet Earth, you know, where we have to, there's a certain level that we're going to have to be on to interact with other people you know, with laws and with society and stuff like that. So I guess my answer to that is how clear are you within yourself, within your consciousness, you know, and can you
yeah,
hold that calm? It's like the answer to animal communication. Can you hold that calm, still voice? If so, you can connect with anything, talk with anything,
yeah.
you know?
And that communication, that kind of dialogue you create, would you say that's a form of like telepathy?
Yeah, I think you can think of it that way. It's, you know, telepathy, the word means feelings, pathy is feelings, and tele distant. So feelings at a distance. So yeah, you're just kind of letting go of the notion of time and space for a little bit of for a little bit of time and space in order to open into it. And yeah, it's a form of telepathy, or we could call it intuition, or you know, whatever you want to call it. I'm not hung up on the words really anymore. It's a connecting. It's a deep connecting is what it is. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean like I think that's kind of also what I was asking too, like on an energetic level. Like you have like we're kind of like these beings that are kind of playing in this field of polarities.
Mm-hmm.
And where you have like certain animals are also within a certain like they call it like a vibration, right? A certain vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're kind we're attracting each other by vibration, and
Mm-hmm.
your animal companions are also attracted
Mm-hmm.
to you by that same like type of vibration,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when I think I was asking was when they yeah I was getting a little head, when your animal companions pass over,
Mm-hmm.
you're still kind of attached to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're still in the
Well, I
same
wouldn't say
like
attached, but I'd say you still have the ability to connect and communicate
mm,
and feel that, you know, just like when humans pass, there's still a bond there can be that we can tap into, that we can access if we're willing to.
yeah.
The question is always, how open are you? How open is your consciousness, right? If it's wide open, then it's all there. It's literally all there. Everything you need to know, right in front of you.
So yeah, so I mean like I keep wondering like about like do you ever hear about or know about dogs or these spaces like in these other like where people have um their companions that have moved on. Do they
Mhm.
still have like can they still create a dialogue with those companions and how would that work?
Well, okay, so maybe let go of the idea that time is linear. That's the human thing, right? So people on the in the afterlife or you know that kind of that space is it's less linear than we think. It's more fluid than we think. And so a lot of animals, humans that pass on are able to connect with us even after what seems to be like 10 years here. There can still be a connection. So again, what we're doing is we're connecting um, I don't want to say consciousness to consciousness, it's more soul to soul or energy to energy, you know? So we're tapping into something almost like an anchor that might be left of that human personality. You know, in the afterlife, a dog personality, human personality may go on to become other things, you know, so that personality is left a little bit like an anchor, a little bit like a touchstone that we can connect to. That's a big question, you know. So without giving you the basics of what happens when we move on in that way, and I think Dolores Cannon talks about that too, right? When we move on, you know, there's it's just a different it's a different realm, it's a different perception, it's a different set of rules, if you will, or set of structures. So, but yeah, short answer, yeah, we can connect with animals who have passed. I've talked to
Cool.
animals from people's childhoods, you know, and because it leaves a resonance, that every individual kind of leaves a resonance here, or a, I don't want it to sound weird, but like an anchor, let's call it a spiritual anchor, and we can tap into that. Yeah.
How do you talk to like a animal companion from their childhood? Like how does
Well,
that
again,
work?
it's it's the same as talking with a living animal. I'm just tapping into a different time slice of that animal. So, because I think Dolores does talk about that, right? I haven't read a lot of her, but I think she also talks about how time, we can tap into a different um, stream of time, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm using her words exactly, but a different streamline of time. And so that's what we're tapping into. We're connecting in a different way. Again, the
Yeah.
question is, how open is your consciousness? You know, can you get beyond the idea of time as a linear concept? If so, then yes, you can tap into that. If not, then okay, then it's going to be limited in that way, you know, to where you are. And that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. We don't need to talk to our, you know, we probably don't need to really talk to our childhood animals. They're fine. You know, what do we need from it? Maybe we need an emotional release from maybe something that we perceive that was, you know, we did wrong to that animal. And in that case, it may be helpful to go into that and to unhook that emotional hold that we had there. So again, it just depends on the situation. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like there's been like times where a person, I put them under this hypnosis, they go back to their childhood, and I'm
Hmm.
always kind of like, why are they even in this space?
Hmm.
So yeah, so like, I mean, like to have to go to have to re-experience like something like that, like your companion,
Hmm.
there's got to be something deeper that was ha maybe does need to be released,
Hmm.
just to even just to allow that energy to now move forward or to
Yeah.
carry on with the self.
Right.
So it
Right.
could be for you or that companion, right?
And both, perhaps. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so do you want to spend some time talking about your services and your books so people know how to
Sure. Easiest way to learn about what I do is go to my website, animalvoices.net. I
well,
have, I think, 10 books there that I've done, mostly about animals. My husband passed away in 2024, and so I wrote two books about really with him about his perceptions of the afterlife. Those are there. I'm reading those chapters on YouTube. So again, if you go to my website, you'll see the link there to the channel, and you can just listen to the book if you don't want to buy it. And I do animal communication talks. I do tarot readings. Sometimes I do workshops. So it would just be that's the easiest thing. Just go to animalvoices.net.
and how
You'll
does the
find
tarot
me.
reading work
Well,
for
it's
the
just
animals?
tradition, just like traditional tarot readings. I mean, I did a deck that I kind of designed, and then an artist, a really beautiful artist from the Ukraine, did the drawings. And so it's an animal themed tarot, but it's kind of based on the traditional Rider-Waite deck.
Mhm.
And so a tarot reading, for those who don't know, it's using cards, placing them down in a certain pattern, and then you're kind of projecting the question onto the cards. And then by reading the cards, you're finding your answer. You're opening your answer up. Yeah.
And is that tarot reading for the human,
Yeah.
or and it's just an animal theme?
It's just an
Okay,
animal themed because I'm in the whole animal thing, you know,
yeah,
yeah, it's so the images are more animal oriented, but yeah,
okay.
it's a traditional tarot reading.
Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. I like that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
there was like I've always wanted to get into tarot, and I've seen all these themes, and I was like, I got to pick a good theme, because I feel like that's, it has to, be my part of my personality.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So,
animals are great. They're great. And I've just done so much work on and with animals that it just came naturally to use animals as, and if you look at a lot of tarot decks, animals do, as we've said before, they play such a part in our fables, our legends, our myths, the whole shamanic tradition, our everyday lives. Animals are everywhere, right? And they do hold, each animal does hold a specific type of wisdom for us. So, yeah,
uh,
it was fun to do. It was a really fun project. Yeah.
and you also do one-on-one work, right? With the,
Yeah.
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 Do you want to talk more about that?
About animal talks?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like an energetic phone call. So you're gonna be telling me about your cat who has problems with what, another cat. I don't know. It's whatever it is, or has health issues, or your dog likes to bark at the neighbors, whatever it is. And so we're gonna connect in that way. I'm gonna be the one for initially who connects with your animal, with you. We're gonna facilitate a conversation. We're gonna see what the animal wants. We're gonna see what you want. We're gonna try to bring you closer. And hopefully, in the process, the human and the animal both open to each other. So there's also that, there's a growing bond that opens up between human and animal.
Have
Yeah.
you ever had like one where the animal just doesn't want to be with the owner no more?
Well, I have had a case or two of an animal who's run away because of a lot of emotional angst in the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So sometimes animals are like, oh, I need a break.
How does the owner take that? Like,
Well, that particular talk that I did, the human understood,
okay.
so he was willing to take accountability for that, which
I
was
mean,
great.
I was trying not to laugh because it sounds like a funny thing, but it's
Yeah,
got to be
well,
a real
it
thing.
wasn't funny, but I
Yeah.
mean, it was and it wasn't, right? I mean, on one level it is, and another is like, oh yeah, there's drama happening in the house, and so he was fully accountable and he understood it, and long story, but yeah, it all worked out,
Yeah,
but
they can feel it. They feel what's going on. And they're
yeah.
just like, yeah, it's affecting them too.
Yeah, and
Big
sometimes
time.
animals are with us in ways that they are helping us. They're little psychic vacuum cleaners, taking in the emotions and helping us to kind of absorb some of that. And sometimes they do need a break. That's, animals need to be outside. My dog needed to be outside. She was like, "Ooh, let's talk." I don't know. She needed to get outside, right?
Here's this
So,
guy saying he likes dogs, but he doesn't really like dogs. Make up your
so
mind, guy.
yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I love doing animal talks because everyone is different. I never know what's going to present, and it's
Yeah.
it's kind of amazing how creative some animals are in terms of what's needed or what they feel. A lot of times we come up with creative solutions together, the human and the animal and me, and we're, brainstorming ways to make life better, right? More open, more connected. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I sometimes I go on these walks, and I'm looking at trees and I'm like, I'm hearing right now that people are going to start communicating with trees, like plants, and they're gonna have a full-on rich dialogue with their own pets and their animal companions. And it's like, yeah, so it's like I really look forward to a day when I can really work with somebody like you and, see what that's all about,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
whole world just um yeah, I mean, like I don't want to send out to the animal kingdom that, I want you to stay at arm's length away from me.
Hmm.
But I see like my reality shifting
Hmm.
into, yeah, I don't know when it's going to come, but I feel like it's coming where we are going to be on the same even level playing field,
Hmm.
all of us, and it's going to be a complete like a complete communion amongst all the species,
Hmm.
humans with everything, and even maybe there's this part on Ghostbusters too where he's like in cats and dogs sleeping together, he's joking.
Right.
But that's also interesting too, because there's also like this, like the stereotype that dogs and cats don't like each other, but when you
Yeah.
see them together, it's like
Yeah.
the way they get along, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's a cool to see it.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of little videos on YouTube and Facebook and social media about different animal species, interacting. So it's a good, I think that's good. I think that's good
Yeah,
that showing us that we can also interact with humans that we
yeah.
think
Or
are
like
separate.
that like is like a trifecta kind of thing when you have like a human with like a horse, and they also have a dog,
Hmm.
and how they kind of collaborate. That's
Yeah,
pretty amazing too, to
yeah.
watch
There
that.
you go. There you go. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Don, for being
Yes.
here.
Yes. Thanks
Um,
for having me.
I'll let you close it out any way you want to. So,
Close it out any way I want. Oh, well.
yeah. I
Just
mean,
all what should we do? Be open to who we are, you know?
yeah,
It's if you feel separate, it's yourself that's separating, right? So it's all, I keep saying it, it's all as open as we are. So life is here for us to help us deepen, see things, to love.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. So
Okay.
awesome.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and turn the video off. Just give me a minute.
Okay.
We'll let's see here.